Third preseason game is in the books, and it's typically seen as a dress rehearsal. And if that was actually the case, it's a damn good one. Brees only played one series, and he made the most of it. He made some throws that kind of reminded me of the Philadelphia game last year. Like, he completed some balls that he had no business completing, and I'm really thinking about the two to Thomas. The first team defense played really, really well. I was very impressed by them. I was really impressed by their tenacity, especially DeMario Davis. He probably has some motivation playing against his old team and stuff like that. And I saw some good things, from the other backups. But Brian, I guess, what was your biggest takeaway from this game? I guess maybe we'll start in offense. What was some of the biggest things you took away from the offensive side?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing I took away from the offense, because I think I'm in agreement with probably everybody else that watched the first two games. I think the offense was missing a lot. It didn't look good. And I think a lot of us maybe forgot to give credit to what an impact, the big three have of Drew, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, both from the perspective of the production they have, but also we're evaluating, the wide receivers and all these guys, and we're hearing all these things from camp, and they ain't doing shit in preseason. It's look, you're right, but Mike and Alvin also aren't out there, and these guys are going to get a lot different looks and a lot better opportunities when they're on the field with those guys, but they're pretty much playing without those guys. And we saw immediately when those guys get on the field, the offense looks a little bit different. So I think that was the biggest one.
Yeah, but the thing I'm noticing is the Baldy did a little video on it. And he even said the offense is Kamara and Thomas and Brees, and that's it. But you can't stop it. Now, obviously, I want the offense to be more than that. But, just those two, you can make a case that those two currently are two of the best at the position. I think Kamara has the stronger case of being probably the best back in the league.
Yeah.
Mike is don't realize
the best. Kamara might be the best, but both of them are absolutely among the elite.
The thing I really appreciate about Kamara is that even when the blocking isn't great, he will milk the most out of that play, almost always. I rarely see him take a bad angle or a bad misstep. If there's 3 yards to be had on a nothing play, he'll usually find it. And
without forcing it, though, which I think is really big. He doesn't just ram into guys to show how tough he is. He's smart, but I think you summed it up perfect. If there's 3 yards to get there, he's getting all three of them.
Exactly. And I think, Teddy Bridgewater, he had a better game. I didn't know this, but my brother said that he was actually sick the last game.
Teddy and Sean and everybody confirmed he was definitely he was sick in the last game, and he looked it.
And obviously I think he obviously played a better game this time, but what I'm kind of noticing, and maybe this isn't his really fault because he's not getting a ton of reps, but the amount, I guess the lack of separation that our receivers are getting is kind of highlighted by when Teddy's in. because Drew is so accurate. He could just put it in the spot. Like, he's really good at the back shoulder throws. The back shoulder throws are really hard to defend. Drew just happens to put it in the spot where only our guys can get it. The timing's there. It's not like Teddy's a bad quarterback, but the significant amount of drop off from the most accurate quarterback of all time,
Yeah,
to Teddy
it's kind of
Bridgewater,
expected if you put it that way.
yeah, it's so stark. But then again, I mean, we're talking about a receiver position on Twitter. Like, it's Michael Thomas, and please, somebody be decent. And
Yeah.
that's basically it.
We'll spend a little, spoiler. We'll spend a little bit more time on that later, because I do have some thoughts on the receiver position now that I've kind of seen 3 games from them. And I did see a few things in the third game that I liked.
Me too.
I also have a hot take that I made jokingly, that I'm kind of starting to get behind, a little bit earlier.
Do you want to go into that now?
Before we get into that, and we'll transition right into it, but just a couple of thoughts on Teddy, and for the most part, I agree with you. I think, obviously, no duh, there's a big drop off between Drew Brees and Teddy fucking Bridgewater. That's not an insult to Teddy. I think that the mistake that I've seen, especially in like some of the those chat groups and Twitter, which are, as much as I love everybody and I really I love Saints Twitter. I like a lot of the groups that I'm in, but you get a lot of Twitter GMs sometimes, and some of sometimes it's good analysis, but sometimes it's very reactionary. And as I've said a billion times, I don't like bad analysis. And to me, any analysis that doesn't include context is bad. When you say, Teddy had last week, or sorry, the week before, like, Teddy had a bad game, like, whatever, he was sick, whatever, I talked about it in the kind of the recap I did. I mean, the worst throw I saw him make when he stepped up and he couldn't make that completion to Butler, like, that's a huge play that Butler doesn't get a chance to make. That's a huge play that Teddy doesn't get a chance to make. Like, that's just a blown throw. You can't blow. Like, that's a major league throw. You have to make that. But like, if I'm looking at this last game, Teddy's stat line looks totally different if Ted Ginn catches a, not perfectly thrown, but very catchable ball. If Dwayne Washington doesn't have it doink off his hands again. A couple of other plays, and you really look at it. I mean, I'm forgetting his name, Hemi, something like that. The tight end that's actually better than Dan Arnold, but isn't getting. Oh,
Derby.
Yeah, Derby. I wasn't even close. I got the E right. Derby. I thought he played a lot better than Dan Arnold. I thought Dan had a nice stat line against 4-string players. But
also there's that throw to I think Traquan Smith. I think it was a good throw. I think Traquan probably needed to time it better. But then again, you don't know. I don't know. It just seemed like he could probably come down with it if he timed it better.
No question. I think that throw was in the perfect spot that it needed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Traquan panicked. He didn't play the ball well in the air, and that's why it was an incompletion. And that actually is the perfect segue there for us to talk about the wide receivers. So, I'll just get right into the hot take. I kind of jokingly said that Traquan might be the surprise cut.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I don't think he's going to get cut this year. It's his second year. With Drew, he's a little different. He's kind of a feast or famine player. He's got a little bit of that Robert Meacham in him. He either has a great game or he's a disaster. He's a good run blocker, all those things. And then, not to discount him, like, those things matter. If he doesn't learn how to attack the ball in the air and catch the damn ball, I said it as a hot take jokingly, but if Traquan of the preseason doesn't become a better player in the regular season, I don't think he will make it into his third year as a Saint.
Right.
I
That's
know
unfortunate.
that we put a draft pick into him. I know he has potential, but
Yeah.
he panics with the ball in the air like he's Ken Crawley. And
That's fair.
he isn't fast enough or an elite enough route runner to where he gets open frequently enough for you to go, well, he's going to catch 60, 70% of the balls I throw at him that are catchable, which is kind of like an acceptable rate.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, but like he creates enough opportunities, I'm fine with it. Like he ain't blowing by guys, and he ain't running such crisp routes that he's getting himself open for you to go, all right, well, he's going to drop one every now and then, but it's okay because he's going to make up for it. He's not doing those two things. He's dropping balls. He's not playing them well in the air. He's letting them hit the ground. The one guy on this team right now I think that really needs to step the hell up is Traquan Smith. And I'm just not seeing it.
Well, I think you kind of make a good point. So like Breeze, I think his arm strength I think is pretty good, and his accuracy is as good as ever, and he's throwing some dimes, but we're not going to be this massive vertical like team, like 30 yards and under. I think we're good. I think going over that you're probably a little pushing it a little bit. So you're either going to need guys that can attack and fight for the ball like Michael Thomas, or you're going to need guys that can win in short area quickness and just create separation really quick and get open. You're going to need those two guys. There's not going to be a lot of call for hey, I need a 50-yard go route. It's just not going to be there. There's not going to be a lot of call for it.
And when you get the 50-yard go route and you're open, you have to catch it. Like you can't bubble that.
Exactly.
Chris just joined us, so I'll let Chris give his thoughts on the wide receiver group. I'll give mine on Butler in a second, but I definitely want to let you say your piece too.
Well, I really don't have like a much time. I'll come in here and say I apologize, for being got a lot going on right now, but trying to make a quick guest appearance and just speak about just a couple things. And one of them I know Brian's gonna love. Well, Patrick, you too. We're talking about receivers. What about
I knew you were going to go here.
What about Jordan Humphrey?
Hey, he's a secret weapon, okay?
Yes, absolutely. Now, you know what they should do? You know what they should do? They should move Dan Arnold back to receiver after that wonderful game that I know Brian just loved, where he tore down and played.
In the CFL, he can also play guys who won't make NFL rosters.
Okay, Chris, you ignorant slut. Secret weapons do not come into play until they're activated, okay? They have to be activated. It's not time.
That's why we have Austin Carr. That's why we have Austin Carr.
Oh, God.
Call it what it is. Okay? He's making the
Austin Carr. Austin Carr is a red herring.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Oh, my gosh.
The team. I don't have much to say about the wide receiver group other than, I was more confident about what Traquan Smith was going to be and what he was going to show in training camp and preseason. And it's the complete opposite of what he showed last year around this time, unfortunately. But, I'll say this. Jared Cook, to me, changed and solved a lot of the things to where to me, it really doesn't matter who else is at wide receiver outside of Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn, and bag of shit, whatever's left. Okay, one way or another. We'll see what Emmanual Butler is, gonna do. I assume he's going to be basically the starting receiver. Either the one of the two against third and fourth string defenses. It looks like he may end up making the team. You have Keith Kirkwood, who he showed me a couple of impressive things, but outside of that, everybody else, we haven't seen enough of Grayson, and I don't think he's got enough snaps to end up showing that he can be somebody you can count on week one.
Practice.
To be honest,
Cobb.
Yeah, Simi Cobbs does look good, decent.
I like Simi. Here's one thing I'll say, and I'll try to, even by normal people's standards, not just mine, I'll try to keep it brief. Emmanual Butler, I actually saw in the third game. I saw the things that had Drew and Sean and some of his other teammates talking about him. The two things I saw from him that I really liked is he's got excellent spatial awareness. He knows where he is on the field. He's aware of the people around him. He's actually good in space for a big guy. Nothing like Coleman was, where like he would catch it, and if he had daylight, he would run. But the second anybody was around him, it was a guaranteed tackle. So I think that part was good. But the one thing that he does, and I think Ian from the Saints Talk podcast talked about this too. He really attacks the football. He has that mentality that Mike has of it's my ball, you're in the way, and you don't matter. And I thought the most impressive catch of the day really was that throw from I think it might have been from Teddy, it might have been from Taysom. I honestly don't remember which, but it was I think it was from Teddy, where he was basically going to the ground and he had to reach back across his body. And like that was where Teddy meant to place it. He had to place it there. But he reached back across his body and snagged it out of the air. And the way he caught it, it's not just that he caught it. The only other receiver on this team that catches the ball like that with that type of security, where the moment it touched his hands, you saw the ball was secure. Like it wasn't going anywhere. It didn't move. It was done. And the body control and to just take it. Mike can do that. Butler's the only other guy that can do that. And I agree with Chris. I like some of what I saw from Keith Kirkwood, but I see what they're excited about with Butler. A huge part, especially in this offense, but to me, a huge part of having success at that position is approach. Guys who not just want the ball, but expect the ball. They see the ball as theirs and everything else is just a formality. Those are the guys who tend to become players and develop into guys that actually matter on a roster. Guys that work really hard and do all the right things, like an Austin Carr, they're going to make the roster, but they're never going to matter. I think that I saw what they have been alluding to in that to say nothing's guaranteed. Like he's not a secret star, but I think that there's a better than even chance that by the end of the year, Emmanuel Butler could be a player that matters for the Saints. Just off of the way he plays and kind of the toolkit he has. So there's my positive hot take.
Yeah, I
only.
Go ahead, Chris. I know you have a limited amount of time, so if you got stuff to say, I want you to go ahead.
I mean, listen, they have, for the most part, we're going to see, when it's time for them to put the ball in the air, you're going to see three wide sets with a tight end and a running back on the field. Okay, or whether they go empty, or they go snug, or trips, or they spread it out. Whatever the case is, 9 times out of 10, just like the days of Jimmy Graham and Jeremy Shockey, that's more likely what you're going to see. Can that third guy make enough consistent plays? I mean, we know Tegan and Mike Thomas are going to be the other two guys out there. Can that third guy simply be in the right space in the right spaces, be able to attack against nickel and dime matchups, or whether it be a cornerback or a defense coming out with with an extra a bigger set with a safety on the field? Can they end up taking advantage of it? Everything you said about Emmanuel Butler fits that profile. If anything, he's going to be in the right spaces, and when the ball is in the air, when it's time to get open, he has the right mindset and the right tenacity to go ahead and go get the football and make a play. And you're not asking for anything spectacular out of that particular position when you're talking about some of the other guys that are going to be surrounded around him. That's pretty much it. I would have hoped that it would have been Traquan. I still think Keith Kirkwood's the guy that will, like I said, make some plays when it's all said and done. But I think from an individual perspective, I think Butler, is the guy that fits, and you probably will want to see the most out there on the field. And I think Thursday when they play, I think he'll probably be the one to show it.
Yeah, he's going to get a showcase.
Yeah, I really liked Butler, and I really want to keep him on the active roster. But, I don't know, and I think I've said this on maybe one of the previous podcasts. I have never been this uncertain about a position group in maybe like a really long time. And that's it. Kind of
you don't remember linebacker like 3 years ago?
Okay, refresh my memory, because
Craig Robertson was our best linebacker. Do I need to go any deeper?
Oh fuck! Okay, stop. Okay,
that's the only and I love Craig and I hope he's okay, but that's the only statement I need to make.
Yeah. Okay. So
Joe Line Dunbar again.
The only other thing I want to say is the starting offensive line looked great, except when Pete has his hiccups. He kind of worries me. But the other thing I want to talk about on the offensive side before we move to the defensive side, because there's things to talk about there, is Taysom has, and I know he's playing against third and fourth stringers, but okay, even against third and fourth stringers don't make your accuracy go up. It doesn't make your mechanics more sound, right? He's worked on his throwing. His accuracy is noticeably better. And I said on Twitter, I've noticed he has a tendency sometimes to still throw it in the dirt a little bit. I think it may just be his mechanics go bad when he's under pressure, but that happens to quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah, it ain't better in the dirt than in someone else's hands.
Right. It even happens to Drew sometimes, Drew has probably the best mechanics in the game. But he's really impressed me. And, we talked about Teddy. Teddy's had a better game. But, if you were forced me to decide today, hey, Drew's going to be out a couple weeks, who I'm going to go with, I really would have to go through Taysom right now. I think Teddy can manage things, but to actually win, I think Taysom's skill set. Because the thing about Teddy is, I think he makes good decisions sometimes, but he isn't the most agile anymore. And I can, I can imagine from his injury, he probably wouldn't be the most agile person anymore.
I mean, he can move as well as Drew can. He doesn't have the same quality of footwork, but he can move as well as Drew can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, maybe I'm.
I'll let you finish your point.
But what? Okay. That's really just only my point is, if I had to pick, last year, I would totally go with Teddy. From what I saw last preseason, Taysom, phenomenal physical talent. That turkey ain't cooked right now, right? Needs to spend some more time in the oven, right? But from what I'm seeing this preseason, it's a short sample size, and maybe it's recency biased, and maybe I'm overblowing it. But I'm really, really, really liking what I'm seeing from Taysom. If I had to decide, I just have to go with Taysom right now. But I'll let you guys answer that, and we'll go to the defense.
Mr. Chris, any thoughts on that?
Well, so I can't be mad at you for saying that and and feeling that, because when the eye test tells you, when you turn on the film, when you watch the game, the eye test says, oh, number 7 is way better, right? It tells you that, and that's fair. But I think that, and I won't take anything away from Taysom, right? Because he's improved. I mean, you mentioned his accuracy, to some of his mechanics, but to me, one of his, outside of his accuracy, the thing I didn't see with Taysom is feel and anticipation, rhythm. When he, those are the things that I wanted to. Oh, damn it! Hold on.
Are you getting a phone call?
All right, we'll let him.
What is this spit like a cliffhanger? Because I was like, I want to hear what he's about to say.
We just got Infinity Ward by Chris. We'll let him finish that in a second. I'll actually make my thoughts on this one real quick. So, okay. I think you're half right. I 100% agree. I've been really impressed by the growth that Taysom has shown. But at the same time, who they're playing with, who they're playing against, all that, obviously that matters too.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry.
Here, I'll let you finish, and then I'll say my piece.
So real quick, his Taysom feel and anticipation in the pocket has totally changed, or it at least looked a lot better against the quality of talent that he's playing now. But that's my biggest issue, right? When he's taking his drops, he's immediately looking comfortable getting rid of the ball. He's not looking to bounce or shake as soon as things get rough, as soon as a rusher becomes free, and that's very impressive. He looks to have a better understanding of what it's going to take to be a professional quarterback, and not just ask you that position. But my worry is that he's playing against third and fourth string defenses, and as a quarterback, considering the exotic, the professional, the type of athletes, the coaches, and everything that you have to see going against first string, or hell, even some second string defenses, it's much different. It's a hell of a jump. It's a hell of a leap. And when you look at this team and how it looks like it's going to be built as the Breeze, they're going to be a team that's built around their defense and the weapons around the quarterback, the offensive line, the wide receiver, the running back. I would say and think you would probably want a guy that you're at least sure isn't going to lose you games. And I know Bridgewater has had a few, he's had a few turnovers, some his fault, some not his. But I think that guy you can probably depend on a little bit more in regards to taking care of the football, making the conservative play, and managing the game versus the wild card in Taysom. I wouldn't be against it if he continues to prove it, but I worry until we see it against top level talent. Okay. Top level defenses, not even just professional guys, professional units, guys that are going to actually be playing on Sundays. But I can't say that I'm not impressed. You'd be a fool to say you aren't.
I just want to say this before I pass it on to Brian. I totally agree with you. The level of talent, you do have to take that into consideration. And I think you're right. Like, Teddy would probably be the safer bet as far as not losing you games. Probably a little bit safer bet to taking care of the ball. Even just for the simple fact that he's been in the league longer, and he's less likely, to take off. And I've seen him throw away balls, plenty of times. That being said, I think it would just be like, what does Peyton feel like doing? Okay, is the defense that good? Which I think it is good, but is it that good where you're going to play an ultra-conservative game plan and you're going to consistently win games? And I guess you would have to take in consideration the hypothetical. Is it a couple games that Drew's missing? That's manageable. Or is it extended time? And that'd be a totally different story. So I think it would really be, do we want to game manage, or do we want to, I think all things being considered, I think Taysom's physical skill set is something that he could quite possibly win you some games with the skill players that you have. I think it could be that. I could think it could be that dynamic. I think Taysom's ceilings for explosive plays is higher than Teddy's.
Oh yeah.
But yes. Yeah. But yes, no, I think you're right in the sense that Teddy's going to probably protect the ball a little more because of his play style, and that he has more years in the league. He's seen more.
So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. I 100% agree. Like, I'm very, very impressed by the progress that Taysom has made, and he's going through progressions. He's throwing more accurately. He's having better footwork. Like, those are all good signs, and because of that ability to improve, it actually extends his ceiling. Because like your physical toolkit is part of it, but if you can't develop that and maximize it, you don't have a high ceiling. Like Jake Locker didn't have a high ceiling because he couldn't throw the fucking ball. Here's a couple of things. Number one, I think and I get what you're saying, but you're really discounting reliability, especially with a couple of factors. Number one, Teddy hasn't played with both Mike and Alvin out there very much this preseason. He's got I think a series and a half with both those guys on the field. That matters. Game plan. Sean Payton made Luke McCown look like a star quarterback for a game. Luke McCown is definitely not better than Teddy Bridgewater. If one of them actually does have to start some games for Drew, Sean's going to be able to build around Teddy, and it's actually a lot easier to build around Teddy than Taysom because, to me, at least today, long-term, totally different conversation because of the ceiling. But today, I, without question, would have Teddy as the backup because reliability. At the end of the day, I can have a reasonable expectation of the performance that I'm going to get from Teddy Bridgewater day in and day out. I might not get the same ceiling, but I also will almost definitely not have the potential for the same floor. And part of the reason for that is Taysom Hill, part of what makes him great is he's a gamer. When he gets in rhythm and he gets confident, some of that special starts to come out. It really does. But we've also seen when he's not in rhythm and he doesn't string a few good plays together, he'll string a few mistakes together. And he starts to panic and he stops making his reads, or he'll start de factoing to run. He's gotten better in all of those areas. But how reliable is he? If we still had a bottom 5 defense in the league, if we didn't have some really good weapons in Cook and Kamara and Mike, I'd say, you know what, go hope Taysom can be magical and win you a game, and he very well might be able to. But the reality is we do have a good D, and we have a good running game, and we have good playmakers. A reliable quarterback is going to more consistently win you those games because he doesn't have to go pass for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he might get you 260 and 3 touchdowns just because of the guys that are there and making the right play at the right time. And that's really all it is for me. It's nothing negative about Taysom. I think he's made exceptional strides. I really, and I mean this in the most positive way, I really look forward to seeing what he is this time next year. If he can make another similar leap, I think that's the time when we could really have the conversation that you're talking about of, okay, does the upside outweigh the potential negative? Because if he makes another leap, the potential negative gets a lot smaller. That floor needs to just come up a little bit. And then I think some of those comparisons that supposedly Sean has made, and I get Sean was making those comparisons from a development standpoint, not comparing the players, those could become real. And he really, really has impressed me. But, it is about winning games. The other side also, I mean, it's also how many games is Drew out. If Drew's out for the season, just play Taysom and see what he has. But if Drew's only going to be out for a few games and you're trying to stay in the playoff hunt and still trying to win a Super Bowl, Teddy's the better chance.
Yeah, I would almost compare it, and I know they're not exactly the same players, but I would almost – if we had to make comparisons within a division, and people are going to hate me for this.
Don't you do it.
I would almost consider Teddy maybe a Matt Ryan early in his career, and Taysom's sort of like a little bit unpolished Cam Newton,
Actually, I don't hate that. I don't hate that comparison. Unpolished Cam Newton is kind of redundant, but other than that,
right. But you're kind of winning. You're kind of winning in different ways, And Cam Newton is a boomer bust player. Matt Ryan,
Chris, is that the first time we've agreed with one of his comparisons? I feel like it is.
I don't know if Chris agrees though.
One that doesn't involve sweaty men or
dead jokes.
Animals.
There was nothing sexual about that. Yeah, there's nothing
don't
sexual
change
about
it.
my comparison. Okay, let's do this. It's a good transition into the defense, and
let's just start with the big news.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. So, if you haven't heard, Sheldon Rankins has been taken off the PUP, so he's not going to start the year in the PUP, which means he can come back sooner. The big question is, when does he come back? There was a video of him doing 40 up and downs at practice. I don't know why, but hell, that's good. those are hard to do. So, I mean, I don't know what the realistic timetable is for him, but man, if he comes back, and I know he's coming back from Achilles injury, and that could hamper his basically one of his biggest strengths, but good Lord. I mean, but honestly, it wasn't just his burst off the ball, because he's always had that, but he really became a technician. That's, I mean, and his strength, like all those three things combined, was really making him a force last year. And that's the
100%.
cue for any of you to come.
No, I think it's extremely encouraging. I promise I'd get this in. One of our by far one of our most loyal fans, and we love that you listen. Lil Dice. He wanted to know if this is confirmation that Sheldon Rankins took at least half a senzu bean. I'm gonna say no. I think that Sheldon Rankins very well may have some Namekian lineage somewhere in the background, though, because that Achilles grew back pretty fast.
Okay, I got the second reference.
Jokes playing off of my Twitter handle aside.
Okay.
I think, obviously, medical advancements and advancements in rehab and all of that have come along really well. It's going to be really interesting to see where he is. I expect him to be back week 4. Prime time against Dallas at home. You're on the road weeks 2 and 3. I think that's kind of what they're shooting for is, get him some reps in practice, get him in shape, get him ready, and then bring him back against Dallas. And if we can have a healthy O-line and a healthy D-line, we can make Dak look like the punk that he is. Just shit, did I say that? You can't say that about SEC quarterbacks. They're God. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, I'm really not all that surprised. I think it just comes down to they don't want him to, they're going around the rules that exist for players that are on those type of lists, those reserve lists where they have to miss a certain amount of games, and the Saints feel like he should be ready before the 6 or the 8 week minimum, depending on whatever list you find yourself on. And I mean, in fast cases and with really good athletes that have really good healing or really good medical staff, and they work their ass off, you're ready normally to at least start to workout practice and start getting back into activity in that 6 to 8 month range. I believe I think the 24th made 7 months since his injury. I mean that sounds about right. I think the only confusion that exists is when you think that because he's off that list, then he's playing week 1 or week 2. No, they're bringing him off of that list so they can bring him back, like you said, Brian. I would say week 3, week 4, somewhere around that range, and get him back without having to just have to sit around and and be sitting around for practice. When he's ready, I'm assuming they've seen enough from him to say, all right, well, now he's ready, practice. We're going to make sure he's in tip-top shape, put him through everything that we can to make sure he's not a risk being out there on that field. And then you get him out there earlier than you would have if you'd have kept him, out there a little bit longer. And I mean, I trust what this medical staff is going to be able to, the determination that they're going to make versus some of the situations that we had with Keenan Lewis having a elbow the size of his head, and Delvin Breaux.
Well, the thing I really liked about, kind of shifting to just the defensive hold, the thing I really liked about their performance is they were just basically suffocating. Obviously, they had the turnover, the strip by Marshawn Lattimore, which was great. I actually thought he was down by contact when they showed the preview again. I'm like, oh, that's out. But they're just suffocating, and I know, New York Jets don't have the greatest offense. I mean, well, honestly, I don't really know a whole lot about them. I know Sam Darnold had a promising rookie year, but they had to wait until basically their third stringers got in before they could do anything on offense. They had to go drive down the field on third stringers and then get a touchdown before they could sit Darnold. So that was really encouraging. Von Bell, dude, he's just, if I had I know we're not picking right now, but, and I don't mean to shit on Marcus Williams, but if I had a pick between the two right now, I'd pick Bell to keep.
They play different positions.
I know they play different positions, but even so, like, how many times?
You know, if I had to pick between Drew Brees and Sheldon Rankins, I'd rather have Sheldon Rankins at quarterback. I mean, look how much younger he is. And that shimmy, man. I mean, imagine that after a touchdown pass. And I'm over characterizing what you're saying, Patrick. I'll let you make a legit point, but like, I hate this dumbass Bell versus Marcus Williams narrative so much. I truly do. Go ahead.
No, it's not a versus.
It's not you, but it's every.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to make some decisions going down the road. But I mean, Bell has seemed to be turning it on. I haven't seen anything terrible from Williams recently, but I don't know. But I like what I've seen from Bell. Eli Apple pretty much looks like last year. You know, he'll give up some stuff, but he's not going to like crawl your defense. You know. But Demario Davis looked great. And I think Davenport had a better game this game. He was a little quiet. Maybe the past two.
It showed a little pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the only thing, because I do not want to turn this into a 20-minute rant. Here's the only thing I'll say on the Bell stuff. Von Bell is playing his ass off. And really started the second half of last year, but he is playing his ass off. That man is playing himself into some money. It might be in black and gold, but he is playing himself into some money. And good for him, busting his ass. But for anybody who's going, well, we might have to make decisions, and they're comparing him and Marcus Williams, you're looking at the wrong guys. The decision will be whether Gardner Johnson shows enough for them to think that he can do most of what Von Bell is doing or not, because he is also very much a strong safety. He's not. He's definitely not a free safety. He's that box guy. He's got the range. He's got the tackling. He's a good blitzer. He is much more of a shadow of Bell than Bell is a threat towards Williams. Now, what I could see, Hampton, who they were looking at a lot before he got banged up. I think he's going to get the Sean Payton red shirt if he ain't got it already. We could be having the conversation next year if Saquon Hampton shows in the preseason what he was showing in training camp this year, the same playmaking and all of that. Now, we might have the conversation between him and Marcus Williams because they play the same position. And that's the only thing I'm going to say on this is Von Bell is not a free safety. Von Bell does not do the things for your defense that Marcus Williams does for ours. I know some of them haven't been as flashy as some fans would like, and it hasn't helped your fantasy team, and so you're mad. And I get all that. Some of it's legit.
Well,
but that's just a pet peeve for me, and it's been driving me crazy for months. So I had to get that off my chest.
Oh no, I totally understand. The one thing, and I'll preface this by saying, I'm not a film watcher. I don't break down film. I don't see all 22. But a lot of the times when there is a long completion, it seems like most of the time he's like a couple seconds too late. Is that fair at least? And I don't know what is. Yeah.
It is. It's 100% fair. But then the other side of that is a lot of the times when there is no big play, it's also because he was in the right spot. And one of those happens a lot more than the other, but you only notice one. And that's not, I'm not saying he's Earl Thomas, but like that's just the part that does bother me of we bring up when, he took the bad angle here. It's like, yeah, but you weren't bringing it up the last 15 times when he was in the right spot and they didn't even try his side of the field because they knew it was going to be a pick. Like if you don't look at both, you can't grade the player. That's all I'll leave it at for that. I'm not making him out like he's Earl or he's a superstar, but like, let's just not shit on him when he was very good for us last year.
Okay, fair.
Any thoughts on this one, Chris?
I mean, I'm with Patrick on the Von Bell praise. I think if you want to wonder about his development and the confidence that he's playing with right now, I mean, go to that first quarter against San Diego, even if it was against Tyrod Taylor and backup wide receivers. Well, I'm sorry, San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, and watch him slide down the field, playing a deep safety and break up a pass. Those just aren't things that we're accustomed to seeing from Von Bell that deep down the field. We know what he can do in the box, but if we're talking about a guy that can disrupt plays deep in coverage, deep in whether it be if they're running 2-man or if he's running some sort of drop. I mean, you're talking about a total different animal at that position and what that can do for that defense. But the comparison between Marcus Williams and Von Bell, I understand that it's tedious and probably a little bit ridiculous, but I think that really only stems from one thing. If you want to blame anybody, blame Drew Brees. Okay, last training camp when
I know where you're going, and this is totally fair.
Every single goddamn thing Drew Brees had to say, what you don't say and what you don't do. He's been in the league too fucking long. He's 40 years old. Okay,
he invoked the name.
8 kids. He called the man or said he has made plays that remind him of who was doing the honors.
Ed Reed. Yeah. Greatest free safety that's ever played the game.
Matter.
That's totally fair.
It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter at
that
point what the fuck Marcus Williams does going forward. All people thought of. Now, granted, he didn't take away the ball as you would have wanted. But all people wanted to think about, all they saw was Ed fucking Reed.
That's totally fair. You got me. No, you got me. That's a win in your column for sure. You're 100%
blame
right.
Drew Brees.
This is Drew's fault.
Don't blame Von Bell. That's Drew's fault. You cannot do that. You can't. Okay. Listen. If tomorrow, if he calls Demario Davis Ray Lewis, guess what? Okay, unless he got a knife. Well, no, we're not going there. Unless he comes out and turns into this Hall of Fame ass linebacker as great as he's playing, people are gonna say, well, not Ray Lewis. I mean, you can't do that. I want to say,
no, 100% fair. Starts calling Davenport Von Miller. Yeah, no, 100%.
What you guys forgot about Demario Lawrence Taylor Davis. Excuse me.
I'm not even gonna.
Sorry. Did he drop out?
You just made him leave. That's what happened.
Awesome. I haven't done that in a couple of shows.
It's been a while since you actually got him to ditch.
Yeah. He probably just really needed to go anyway, but yeah.
Hey, we'll make it work, but yeah, no, I think we're on the same page for the defense. Sheldon Rankins being back is good. Demario Davis looks awesome. Lattimore seems to be taking the right approach, which was really the only issue last year. Like he did not start the season with the right approach, and it was so very obvious. Von Mel's playing out of his mind. Williams is playing well. We'll see if he turns into the superstar he showed flashes of as a rookie, but he's playing well. Gardner Johnson is going to be a player. PJ looks good. Really, the defense as a whole looks good. Davenport actually showed some flashes against the Chargers too. Had a very close play. I saw some people were like, well, you should have finished that. I'm like, well, give the quarterback some credit too. That was a nice sidestep by Darnold. We talk about how Drew avoids sacks all the time. Darnold did the same. But his pressure forced the incompletion. So he did his job. He didn't create the negative play you wanted, but he prevented a positive play. But, bottom line, I thought the third game was encouraging. To your earlier point, you want to see it as the dress rehearsal. Obviously we always say the preseason is never as good as it looks. It's never as bad as it looks. It's always somewhere in the middle. One thing we did forget to talk about, and we should both be shamed for bringing this up. This will be our last topic. Not only do we maybe finally have not shitty return man, actually a good one, and this man he is exercising and liberating the soul of that dirty, tainted, nasty number 11 jersey, and he's representing for the midgets in the world. And I'll stop being a jerk for 1 second. I'll say this legitimately. Here's the real difference between Harris and Tommy Lee Lewis, because they're not that dissimilar. Similar stature, actually fairly similar athleticism. Tommy Lee Lewis is a diminutive but very good athlete who plays football. Mm-hmm. Harris is a football player who happens to be a diminutive, very good athlete. And that difference, you can see all the difference in the world on that return. It's the confidence, it's the poise, but it's also the awareness. He was able to move from lane to lane to lane, from cut to cut to cut, just weaving through traffic, not only trusting his speed, but as you saw, the punter had the angle on him. He adjusted his speed so that he could change the angle slightly with the punter and then re-accelerate and blow by him and make sure he never had a chance. Those are the things Tommy Lee Lewis never did. Tommy Lee Lewis played his ass off. He fought hard. He was a gamer. He was a good athlete, but he wasn't a good player. This was the one thing I always harped on. He doesn't return well. He doesn't play well. He doesn't operate smooth. He doesn't look like a football player. He looks like an athlete. Harris is a football player.
I know they're different plays, but it's like I know Lattimore has a faster 40 time than Harris, but if Lattimore was in the same situation, he'd get tackled. Like it's weird thinking about, and I know they're different plays, but well, you see Lattimore, you think it's a pick six, and he somehow gets tackled. Like at least he made the pick, and I'm glad about that, and he returned it. But yeah, some of the best punt returners I've seen have not been track stars, But there is a special skill set in punt return. I don't know what it is. I think it's almost, how Drew can reset his feet real quick. I almost think it's like a similar skill set because you have to instantaneously change your footsteps really quick, like change your stance. You got to go from looking up into the sky, safely filling this ball, to immediately deciding within less than a split second where you're going to go, and just being able to go, and then weave through that traffic because there's always traffic on those plays.
It's all about, especially punt return, but kick return as well. It's all about pace and awareness. And pace just doesn't just mean go fast. Now, all the guys, even like Josh Cribbs, who have Devin Hester, Dante Hall, Josh Cribbs, you would have a short list of guys who are all-time great at that kind of stuff. They're all fast. Cribbs is probably the least pure fast of that top group, but he was still really, really fast. But the one thing you'll see with all of them is it's understanding pace. And it's with pace, with awareness of, okay, I'm going to move this far this way at this speed, and then I'm going to cut here, and then I'm going to accelerate, and that's going to set up this thing over here, and that creates my cutback lane, and now I'm gone. Now it's daylight. And it's that first, you always say, a good punt returner, make the first guy miss. Tommy Lewis never made the first guy miss. A lot of guys, they can't make the first guy miss. And it's taking that snapshot, knowing which guy is coming, having a rough idea of where he's going to be, catching the ball, securing it, making a move, and then once you're in open space, if you just run really fast to a spot, you're getting tackled. Because guess what? The other guy also runs really fast, and he's running to the same spot. It's setting him up so that before I get to that spot, I can either change how fast I'm running, by speeding up, by slowing down, by doing choppier steps to give myself the ability to do that what you're talking about, quickly changing the footwork,
Mm-hmm.
And it's that anticipation that sets guys up. It's what made Brandon Cook so bad at returns. He was bad at it in college. Even when I liked him when he was on our team, like that was something I always talked about. Like he's not good at this, and it's the anticipation aspect of it and the changing of pace. You can't teach that. It's instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Harris has it. I mean, no shit. I mean, I think he's the most prolific return man in NCAA history. So yeah, no shit, he has that. He's got one gift, and good God, is he good at it.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted to end on that high note of,
Yeah.
you know, this is the first time in a long time we've seen a guy where every time it gets in his hand, we're like, is he gonna break it? Is he gonna break it? Is he gonna break it? And he broke one. And it was the best return he'd had. I mean, he just weaved through everybody. No one touched him. And he was just gone. And you can't do that if you don't have that anticipation of, I'm not looking at the guy in front of me. I'm looking at the guy behind him. I already know I'm going to get past the guy in front of me. How am I going to get past him?
Yeah, you
can't teach that.
I just had this realization now. So for years, we're like, we got to fix the defense. We got to fix the defense. And then we actually started fixing the defense. And it's like for years, and like our kicker is our problem. And then our kicker thing got solved. And it's like, man, if we only had like a returner, and I think he's here. It's like Saints Twitter spoke these things into existence. So we're not wasting our time all day talking on Twitter. We're not. This shit works. And I think that might be a good way to end the show.
That should be the title of this week's podcast. We're not wasting our time on Twitter. This shit works.
Yeah.
And just put it with no context.
I know.
But yeah, no.
I'm back on my bullshit.
Yes, you are. Like Chris dropped in for a few minutes, and there you go. Hope everybody enjoyed the show this week. We will be doing, we'll definitely do a reaction after Thursday's game, probably on Friday or Saturday. We'll see if we can get the whole band together. Otherwise, I'll definitely give you guys a solo show. I got a couple of potential. I'm still trying to iron out the details, but probably a couple of bonus episodes coming out next week before the first official game of the season. With another podcast in the Saints sphere. So I should have all that ironed out pretty quick, and then obviously once the first game starts, we'll have the post game reaction show. I'll send it out there for questions and comments from you guys, just like we did last year, and then we'll do our regular show a little bit later in the week where we can all react. Chris should be back for a full-time show next week. My monologue is over. Hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you guys next week.